a few things that we can implement, we can understand, and so that we slowly implement them for a happy and joyous living. I want to start with the first one, that all things are impermanent. This sutra, that when we understand this, we move ourselves into present moment readily. We understand everything is originating from nothing. This impermanent nature of every experience is there in our daily life. When we make a pot, the person who makes the pot is important, is a must. Without the person who makes the pot, a pot cannot be made. To make a pot, you need the sand and then you need the person. But as the pot is made, the person does not exist in the pot. The sand exists, but the person does not exist. Person was very important. Without that, the pot cannot be made. But it is made and the person no longer exists in it. It is forgotten. It's very temporary. No one even knows who made it. It's called nimitta matra. Nimitta is temporary. Our experiences, when we recognize through law of reincarnation that we are choosing people, places, things, that there are many times we come and go, we understand that whatever situation we're going through are temporary. They're impermanent. They hardly make any difference. The name and fame that we go after so much, we all know it. That is never remembered. The moment we change our positions, people forget us completely. It is there. The value is there as long as the position is there. When we recognize things are impermanent, we come back into present moment because we know that this is there today, it's not there tomorrow. I mean, we know about the wealth. So many companies become really big and then suddenly they disappear. Our wealth is circulating many a times. Persons who are there with us, next moment we know, especially during COVID time, they're not there with us. I know there are some who are very, very healthy, but they got hospitalized. So what we think that really there is permanent is impermanent. Even this life itself is so temporary. So the first sutra, that all things are impermanent, and the more we work on it, is definitely helping us move into the present moment to enjoy what we have right now here with us in our hand. We'll think of future tomorrow, but right now here we are, we know it, we are here. This moment is real. Of course, quantum physics has always said this, that we are energy first, matter next. It's illusion. That energy is what we are, and the matter is so little. That's more from a scientific, intellectual understanding. So holistically, when we study life, when we contemplate on who am I, where am I coming from, we start getting answers to this. Is my relationship real? So the impermanence nature, that means that not getting attached to an experience is the derivative of this. Things are impermanent, so don't get attached to an experience, to a thing or anything, because it's so impermanent. It stays and then disappears in the next moment. The second principle is the difference is our experiences are created by ourselves. Accept it. We recognize that always, every experience that we are going through in our life is created by ourselves. Our power of thought combined with the power of will is always creating an experience, not by anybody else. We know this, but many times we disown it. When things are tougher, we disown it. We put it on somebody else. Every experience that we are going through is created by ourselves. It might sound very tough right now, but it has a deeper, greater meaning for us, that some of us might have gone through our own personal stories. In my case, my company was completely down with lots of employees. Almost 90% were laid off, had to go. I couldn't see the deeper meaning then. But then later, if you look back, it was the best thing that has happened. That's the time that I became a CEO. That's the time that I was able to attract better investors, that I was able to get into a great spiritual course called Abundance, and then grew things back again. When the financial crisis came in 2008, it was tough For many, it was tough for me too. But then we disown that experience. So that is the time to gain strength, to be with it with perseverance, not give up, because our experiences are created by ourselves. We don't see it, but it is always there for a greater meaning and for a greater growth. So it was that way. But when I look back, it was a great thing that has happened. COVID was horrible for many people when we do not recognize it. But the deeper meaning, for those who still feel that it is really bad, will always be revealed in future. This is the case, always for everybody. A woman was married with 2 children, and her husband traveling quite extensively in business. And then slowly, he started ignoring the family. He started having extramarital affairs, and then made the life for this woman really hell, not bother with the family at all. So this woman was complaining. The woman was constantly battered to her. She was so much battered. She was just felt she was not worthy for anything. She was completely dissected in life. She came across meditation. She went through meditation. Slowly, a few years later, she, of course, gained the strength to give divorce to this person. And then she married somebody. And then with that new marriage, she went off to a country where she really dreamt of always. And now living there beautifully with her children. And then you ask her and say, what is the turning point in life? She says it is that 20 years ago when that person really, really caused so much suffering to me. That was the turning point. Because of that, I took a stronger decision. I became a better person. I changed myself. I got to explore. I came into meditation. And so today, I'm just so happy. But for that incident, then I don't know where I am. Every experience that we are going through, good experience, of course, we won. But the not so good experiences where we are unpleasant experiences where we disown, we immediately start complaining. We start putting the blame on somebody, if not anybody, on the God, on the superpower. We have to understand, dear friends, our thoughts are always creating reality. So every experience that we're going through, whether it is small irritating experience or it's a large experience where huge loss of business or loss of people or anything, we have recognized that we have drawn that experience into ourselves. So we have to accept, we have to own it with a clear understanding that something deeper, something better is happening for us. So when we approach it from that angle, then of course, then we are learning from it. Every experience there to learn from it, learn something. It's going to move us into a greatness, whether it's going to be increasing patience, increasing perseverance, increasing our ability to expand our knowledge by meeting new people in that situations. But this sutra too is the most important. We cannot, this is exactly where, when Patrice used to say, no complaints, no judgments, no matter wherever we are, whenever we meet, even if we have a slight discomfort with accommodation or with this or that, anywhere, he would always say just one straight thing, no complaint. I never understood why he would say just like that without even looking into it. What is indicating is that you got to own that experience coming from you because you are the one who drew it into your life to learn from it. To complain means that we do not believe that our thoughts create reality. So we are hearing, but then we're not ready to accept the principle where we are not ready to accept the situation. To complain means that the moment we accept, the moment we recognize that, okay, this is me, my business failed, this is me, I have gotten into it. What can I do? What is it teaching from me? We start looking from a different angle. What is the learning I have in it? What's the greater meaning behind this? So when we start contemplating on anything, then we start receiving information about it. This is the nature of how the reality works. When we start putting our attention on it, where our attention flows, energy flows. So then we start receiving information about it more. We just have to put a thought on it. A lot of times what we do when failures occur, we try to avoid even thinking about it. We contemplate to identify what is it teaching me. When there is a failure into my company where things are not going great at all, that is the time when I was thinking about it. what to do next. This opportunity to go and serve, even though it is not giving me any material benefit, the opportunity to go and serve came. And so I moved myself into that work, which eventually led me to more and more greater learning about abundance principles, which required for me at that point, rather than complaining about this business, these people who screwed it up, this market was bad and that's why we went down. Instead, I put myself towards a service where it helped me to learn more things. So Sutra 2 is the Sutra, dear friends, in our life. If we want to be happy, if we want to be happy, then we recognize in any given moment that I am the one I drew this situation. So what can I do about it? So immediately judgment stop, complaint stop. Then we come back into a balance. The third thing is staying open. Staying open means we always want certain things to happen. If not anything, we want people around us to get better. But the thing that separates us and that does not let us attract into our life is not being open for about it. The possibilities are many, but we have to patiently stay open. We have to patiently wait. Many a times about a time scale. I've been thinking of traveling around the world. It is not happening for now 3 years. So I don't think it's ever possible because my age is catching up. So I don't think it's possible. When we think that way, we're concluding. Many a times things don't come in our way. Many a times we are unhappy is because we close the possibilities by ourselves. We conclude things too early. We're concluding constantly. We're not staying open for miracles to happen. If Buddha CEO could spring up to life in what we consider the most worst situation, and if the people who are with it are very, very happy, and it is a miracle, then can't those miracles happen for every one of us in whatever that we are doing? Being open because anything is possible, because we never can conclude that something is not possible. We cannot because it's not in our foreseeable imagination. So dreaming of future means doing the work, energy work here, rather than trying to communicate physically. Try communicating with energy. Rather than trying to create something, visualize and dream. You want project success, visualize and dream here. Whatever that we are looking to have, we constantly dream and dream and dream. And we stay open. We wait patiently for no matter how time it is. It's always happening when the best time possible. It's just that we have, based on the conditioning around the people, we limit ourselves and say it's got to happen the next year, next month. This is one of the very difficult things to do, dear friends, because we constantly, for every small thing to big thing, we keep concluding. Because we are always based, we are being taught to base our decisions based on the past data. That's what we've been taught. Only thing that exists is past data. So based on past data, you just decide. So by default, we just look at what has happened in the last 3 days, and so it's going to happen today. And because of which, of course, our plans change, things didn't happen. So I have to immediately start thinking about executing a plan B, plan C, before even giving that plan A a chance to work through, execute. Now, staying open will happen when we expand ourselves. We got to read and read and read. Read about miracles. Read books of Vandayer, because they always are talking about many, many examples. And of course, the more meditation we do, the more we recognize our thought process and immediately put them aside. Anything that's concluding, anything is just deciding to say that, oh, it's not possible anymore. So, fourth thing, dear friends, is seeking equality, not superiority in all aspects, because this is the one which is nurturing our ego self, our individual self, and which is the one which is separating us from others. On one side, we know we are really interconnected, we really one. On the other side, we want to stay ourselves as separate. Connected to joyous living. Joyous living is what? I'm happy, I'm satisfied, I'm contented, I'm successful. If those are all the terms for joyous living, and when we separate ourselves, if we seek superiority, then we're separating ourselves, saying that I am one up, I'm different. That's because there is some expectation. There is an ego self. You're satisfying with an expectation, and it is never going to be met, because then you are putting your happiness outside. It's never going to be met. It's not practical. It's not possible. Separation means that we limit a possibility from somebody else. The whole idea is to recognize that we are one and then become one with everything. So the way in the wakeful life, all of these are principles in the wakeful life, is to seek equality, not superiority. That means we are living with great friendship. So what if I'm the CEO and somebody is just an entry level engineer, an entry level employee of somebody who is a cleric staff? So what? How many times when we go into a building, when the person, the janitor sweeping floors, that we even looked at the person's face? How many times have we done that? Let alone saying hi to them. What we do just by looking at them will lift them significantly, dear friends. We don't even bother. They don't even exist in many ways for us. There is an hidden superior nature among ourselves. Superiority over animals, superiority over the nature. If you read the book by Vladimir about the Russian Tajan woman, Anastasia. So when Vladimir touches that little plant that is there outside his home, just by touching the plant, it just feels so much joy, so much energy. It just bows down to him for all that. That little bit of touch, that love is sufficient for you to just respond beautifully and then start flowering quite a bit, just with a little touch. So it is the situation in many a times with people around us, dear friends. So seeking equality by mixing and becoming one with people around, not superiority, not seeking special attention, special status. The special status means that ego self is constantly there. Ego self means we are separating ourselves. Separation means that no, there are certain things that we are not going to get. I was reading a quote this morning. There's a sculptor. The sculptor is chipping and is making a statue, a god statue. And he said, you know what? You and I are one. And I've been working on you. So far, we are one. Now that you have become God, so he finally finished it. From tomorrow, they're not going to let me into your temple because I'm untouchable. So let me touch you one more time. As leaders, it's our responsibility to bring equalness, inclusion, fairness. First thing is equalness. It comes from that spiritual scientific temperament that everybody has the same innate potential. And so why not? Why not give the chance to that junior engineer? Why not give the chance to that other person? Maybe he'll come with something more beautiful. In many, many ways, it works, it's there. In giving benefits, whether it's encouraging people to do things. We fundamentally, in order for us to be happy, we seek equality, do that friendship, become one with them. So then automatically our ability to manifest becomes more and more and more. Many of the works done by Buddha Seva Foundation are done by youngsters. I know that many, many great things done for Patriji are done by really youngsters who just come in, not necessarily having any kind of special degrees at all. So everybody has that potential. So we can make use of it. Seeking equality, not superiority, is a fundamental sutra for just to be for us. This is a great principle to practice in this new year. Sutra 5 is always serve to your best. This is something that I figured. Once we understand in the models of happiness, the Vedic model of happiness of physical body, then body and mind, then body, mind, intellect, and then body, mind, intellect, our individual consciousness, and then everybody around it. If you draw these circles, we also know it. The happiness is derived by sleeping for a few hours, versus if we had the opportunity to watch a great movie in those few hours, something that's deep, long lasting, that sleep that is forgotten very quickly. But that movie that I've seen deeply impacted me is forever there with me. So there is that happiness that we keep going back to in increasing order of pleasures, emotionally connected, whether that movie or that song or thing. And if I had gone to a lecture which lasted deeply and created an impact on me, stimulated my intellect, I know that it inspired me to do many more things. So the happiness that derive out of a lecture there is much more. So there is an increasing order of happiness from physical body to body, mind to body, mind, intellect. To this experience, once we come into meditation, that wholeness that it brings, that bliss it brings, that calmness it brings into us, that peace of mind, it is a lot more pleasurable, a lot more enjoyable that we keep going back to it. And so when we recognize these happiness models, it becomes no-brainer that we always choose at any given time when we are presented with multiple opportunities to what to do, we choose the one that is of the higher form of pleasure, happiness, and service, dear friends, is in there, which is the larger circle outside, taking care of everybody around. When we are presented with the opportunities, we choose the one that is a higher form by default. Serve to your best. In some situations, even though we don't like, when we are in confusion, we don't have adequate clarity, what should I do now? My family is asking me to go for this family reunion. I don't know, somebody, there is a 11th day death function. Somebody has asked me there. And here is an opportunity to go and then serve those people who are suffering. So what do I do here? Opportunity to teach meditation, opportunity for me to go and attend this function. So dear friends, we got to discriminate quickly. Anything that's higher form of happiness, we choose on to this. One is an emotional management, another is a consciousness expansion or serving a lot of people out there. Where there is confusion, where there is doubt, we pick the higher form. And so, dear friends, the service becomes by default being the highest, always can become a choice. If you want to be happy and successful, and then when I made my decision long ago, I ensured that I give my best to the service in Than Man Dhan. I ensured that I always gave my best at every given time in my life after coming into meditation. You know, to give is to truly receive. It's happening always. We know it. We've heard it too many times. So holding on to that impermanence of that money or that thing, whatever that we have, we must look to rotate it, circulate it, because it is going to come back around. I've always seen it when I've donated in the direst times, difficult times. Also, I said, if I'm able to raise loans to support myself, support my business, then it doesn't make sense to sadly say, I don't have money to give to that cause. It doesn't make sense to me. Think about it. I don't have money. If I'm able to raise money, donate, take loans to do certain things, and certain things that are more to support me, more survival, more health, more pleasure of trip, and this and that. And then in the increasing happiness models, and service is, I know, is going to give me a lot more deeper happiness long term. And then why would I not do it? It's just discrimination, using the right buddhi or discrimination. So latching on to that principle, because it's always going to get right. So it naturally occurred to me that if I have to cutting off a service activity as the first thing, but I've seen many people do it when they are pressured for time. They say, okay, sorry, I'll cut off that service. When we're pressured for time, when we're pressured for money, what we're doing is we're cutting off the highest form of happiness. We have to do the reverse, dear friends. When we are pressured for time, choose to be with that thing which gives you a higher form of happiness. We don't look at the short term, look at the long term. It's always happening. When we are able to help others by listening for ourselves, it's got to come back, circle around, because consciousness is paying close attention. My meditation is not happening. But then if 100 people are meditating, then consciousness is paying attention. With 1 hour of my meditation, 100 people are enabled. So 100 hours of it, it knows the calculation very easily and says, what else is required for Chandra? So let me give that in. So enabling others, helping others with everything that we have. In a true spiritual model, of course, our scriptures, many times we quote, give at least 10%, right? 10% of what we have. Take everything that way, 10% of your income, 10% of your time, 10% of the resources that we have. can we allocate? It may be the starting point, but in the true spiritual being, you always ask yourself, you keep what you need and then give everything else, because that's really not going to be there with you anyway. First of all, we got to get to the 10% model and then keep increasing the bar to give everything away, because you are part of this. Do keep what you need, and then everything else is circulated, because we know that serving others, which is the largest circle of taking care of our universal consciousness, is ultimately our purpose. For everyone's purpose is to serve others. We know this. So if we regularly meditate, and if we regularly do satsang, read, and then regularly serve, dear friends, if these three are done, I can tell you it is there. I mean, when we do these three, we're absolutely are moving ourselves into a greater life, more and more experience of life. My personal meditation, my personal thing. And so I don't have time, so I'm going to just stay back. We get increments. What do you do with the increments? Why don't we proportionately go and then give, at least, if not, all of it? Think about it. If increasing models of happiness is where we need to go to, and so then when we have an opportunity to serve, we utilize that opportunity. I was telling some people, Pyramid Valley, a great project, that energy that is there, we were in need of a lot of money to build facilities 10 years ago. Now that opportunity is not there for a long time. For 10 years, we're not doing anything there in terms of building facilities. Projects are done. Then, so there is an opportunity. We take every service as an opportunity for us to give, because give and receive are, when we are truly abundant, when both giving and receiving are equal. So sometimes opportunities don't even come, but the life moves on. I can tell you, Michael J. Singer talks about in his book, and which we all know, there is life existed before us, and there's a life that is going before after us, and so it's always there. It's always moving. It's always going. We are presented opportunities at every given moment. And if our greater happiness is by helping others, and when we present with opportunities, dear friends, and if you don't latch on, it just simply moves on to somebody else. That work does not stop. It just goes on. If somebody else comes and fulfills it, somebody else takes it, and then moves on. No project stops. Projects go on. Patrice's movement only grew bigger and bigger and bigger. If people that he entrusted did not take it, somebody else took it. Somebody else took it, but it keeps moving. It's because his intention is pure. So serving to our best from the point of our happiness, because it is the larger outer ring. Body pleasures, mind pleasures, intellect pleasures, our individual consciousness and the soul pleasures, and then this greater self. Everybody together is the greater self that pleasures, and that is the largest ring. And the more we help others, the more that we are taken care. We move out of survival mode to more creative modes automatically. We feel absolutely happy all the time. So taking this opportunity to serve to your best, sometimes it is difficult, because we are, of course, influenced by the environment or conditioning. And more so when we come into meditation, where we are going and growing and growing. Think about this. When we are in meditation, when you come into meditation, where naturally we are creating more and more abundance for ourselves, more resources, more time, more things. And they're all created to plow back into you becoming better and better and better. First, you becoming better, and the second is automatically giving that to the people around. So serving to our best is a sure shot for joyous living all the time. And the last principle is understand life after life. Demystify. This is it. If you demystify death, then all fears are gone. It is the death that is the ultimate fear, right? Fear of death. It's that fear which is holding us deeply back. That's it. So we'll have to study the literature, because what we contemplate on or where we place our attention is what we start drawing experiences. Just the other day, I went through a past life regression session. The more you think about what the more you seek an answer for, it's about, the more you put your attention onto automatically reveals itself because there are more things you'll attract. It's just the nature, right? We keep talking about this again and again. As I was thinking about, some dissatisfaction, there at Quantum Life University during this Hyderabad visit, we happened to have visited Quantum Life University by Dr. Newton's project, right? Beautiful project. So we were there, and since I took a group and I wanted them to do a session, something interesting. So we did a meditation previous day night, and the next morning, Raj, the managing trustee, who offered and said, okay, I'll do a past life regression. Oh, wonderful. So we all sat in. And he said, I'll do about purpose of life. Past life regression, you can do about many things. He said, I'll do about purpose of life. So I went in to discover myself. And someone said, okay, purpose of life, what purpose of life you want to know? You already are doing service and this and that. But the process is so intelligent. Within what I'm doing, I saw myself a past life where the leftover there was writing. Teaching is one, but writing. And then it is related to my current life. And then I know that there is some resistance to writing. I know that every time I wrote, there is a good communication that is happening. There's a lot more impact. But the resistance to writing is there. It's long due that I need to write my experiences of my life. But this past life regression session that I took, it clearly came out, me as a woman, and in that lifetime, I've been there with a group of people, but somewhere towards the end of the lifetime, the only thing I recollect was that, I should have written. I was thinking, oh gosh, I should have written this all. And it relates greatly to my current life. So, of course, I'm taking a lot more inspiration from that thing to go specifically to go and then do writing. We will definitely, I am hoping to bring at least one or two books about my experiences in this new year. But it is intelligent. The process I wanted to say is that it is intelligent. What we dwell upon is what we get to know more about. We just have to give time. And it is so intelligent, this process, that within what I'm doing, it became specific to me and said, okay, you focus on Chandra, this is pending work for you to do that writing. I know that if I once I do that, it's going to take a lot of dissatisfaction out of me. I don't say that I'm suffering badly, but somewhere, every now and then, you see that something is missing. And maybe it is this. For each of us, always there is something, there is some dissatisfaction will be there. Soul by nature is always dissatisfied. Only then creation can happen, because then we contemplate on it. And so we go on to the next experience. So it's always that. So, dear friends, we got to demystify depth. We have to contemplate on what is there beyond. That's questions that Ramana Maharshi asked ourselves to ask. Who am I? Where am I coming from? Where am I going? Just these 3, 4, 5 questions. How is this nature created? We got to ask ourselves. When we start asking, contemplating on it, automatically we are going to be presented with so many possibilities of knowing. That thought power, when we start contemplating, our will is driving us towards all the opportunities. Suddenly, maybe Dr. Newton's session will come. Maybe, Patriji will talk about, all those 7 bodies and 7 lives, or maybe somebody else session that you come across. And then we'll latch on to it. We'll learn more about it. But we got to demystify depth. In the context of joyous living, friends, we have to definitely demystify depth. There's no depth. We've heard it many, many times. And if somebody is hearing first time, there is no depth. After reviewing many, many case studies, many, many things, so much of literature, therefore reading, whether it's by Doris Cannon, whether it is by Michael Newton, Sylvia Brown, Echo Borden, Dr. Newton, and many, many, and then having looked into some of my past lives where, there is beautiful life on the other side. Theosophical Society books must be read, explaining, because they've done so much research. And so any doubts around it will go away. If Brian Weiss and Hans Tenenbaum, they are the people who've done so much of past life, through past life therapies, they have documented so many cases around the world. So it is, we all know. So we got to look into it. When we look into it, then we demystify depth. It's a beautiful world out there. And death is demystified, then we are just fully liberated.